you know?
Have you ever walked into a site as a health and safety inspector and you seen some completely incompetent people in the wrong position where they should have been? Probably came through an agency, you know. Have you seen something like that?
Oh, I have had, like you said, not necessarily coming from an agency. Well, from an agency, but or else they might be coming from a different area, or they'll say, oh, we've all these qualifications. I mean, I had one guy who didn't even know how to use a hammer.
Really?
I'm not even joking you, like a basic hammer. And I saw him and he had, where the back of it with the
Yeah,
two little, what I call them, the little horns. Basically, he was holding that with his full and hammering it down.
No.
And I went up and I said, what are you doing? He goes, and I said, have you ever used a hammer before? He goes, yeah. I said, no, really, honestly. I said, what was your job previous to this? And he said, oh, I was a taxi driver. And I said, okay. I said, do you know how to use like a drill gun? And and I actually ended up having to show him how to use a hammer, a nail gun, even a screwdriver. He was trying to put in his keys to take screws out, and
Was that on the site?
that was on one of the big sites,
How are they getting away with hiring people like that? No wonder there's mistakes.
Well,
and
this is where you need someone like myself to do their due diligence and kind of
I
say.
had this conversation with some man on a TikTok. He said, "Oh, blah blah blah, mistakes this, mistakes that," and I said, "Man, do you know what's the biggest reason for death and accidents on sites? I used the bad language, but here I'm going to use a good language." And I said, incompetent people.
Incompetent people. Incompetent people. And by the way, a lot of the time, the one thing I always say is don't assume anybody has common sense. Because they don't.
They don't, no.
So many people have no common sense. Like even the simplest, I'll tell you, actually, you'll enjoy this story. So we're in a canteen and there's a plug socket there and it has a big piece of masking tape over it with an X. Okay, you would think automatically, let's not use that machine. Not only did they use the machine, the socket, but there was also like, I suppose, a shelf that had stuff that wasn't working. Very clearly, do not use. It was busy. I think she wanted her slice of toast very quickly. Was only on a 15-minute break. So I watched the whole thing, went over, got a toaster, which had, again, a big sign, do not use, took the masking tape off the socket, plugged it in, got an electric shock, and was shocked as to why. And I said, what do you expect? I said, there was a marking tape with an X and it says do not use, and you put the two of them together and you want to get a claim because you got an electric shock.
And she put a claim in?
That was the whole thing. She put in a claim to say it wasn't her fault.
No way, some neck.
And it's like people just don't even think,
And this is what I said about the religion. People just think that they'll get away because there is some horror stories for employers.
And actually, I'll give you little horror stories, that something that a lot of employees might not know as well. If you have a medical condition or any sort of illness, especially if it comes to blood, you are obligated to inform your employers of this.
So not only HIV and AIDS, but also related
yeah,
stuff.
like say for example, if you have a certain condition and you're taking medication and it says you might get drowsy. And I know a lot of tablets will say don't operate heavy machinery. And you'll be fine. But if you're on medication that it says don't do that, you're obliged to tell your employer, because then at least we'll know and kind of say, well, we can keep an eye on that employee to make sure. Mm-hmm. We had a chef. This was actually in America when I lived there. And essentially, long story short, they cut their finger.
In the kitchen
as a chef. And they were screaming the whole time, not about their finger. They were like, please make sure no one touches my blood. Make sure no one touches my blood and don't go near that station. Some girl obviously didn't hear it. The cleaning woman didn't wear gloves, had a cut on her hand, and she contracted HIV from it.
Wow.
Yeah.
Wow.
Simplicity.
Wow.
And that guy was legally obliged to tell the employer. And you're a chef. It's not as if you're not going to cut yourself. And yeah, I think that went into a civil claim later on. But like, that's the simplicity as well. People don't think you can actually, you're messing up someone's life here. Even I had one instance where a supervisor wanted, again, kind of, it's always usually on a Friday when people want to go home early, and they had to change a light bulb. Very simple thing, right? But in the area, there was a manhole. So the supervisor said, okay, what I'll do is I'll cover the manhole. But he covered it with, you know, like plastic sheeting or lilo that you put on a floor.
Oh, just protective
just,
stuff.
Yeah, you know, just nothing. No wood, no nothing. This will be fine. Throws a ladder on top of it and doesn't even go up himself. He gets one of the employees to go up. 19-year-old kid gets up on the ladder, like he didn't even say don't move the ladder. He didn't know, so he moves the ladder. He steps up the thing and goes down and breaks his 2 legs.
2 legs.
2 legs, and he didn't walk for nearly a year. And like that employee now was off for the year, physiotherapy, everything, regardless of the money. That supervisor put that guy's life in jeopardy because he wanted to go home. And it's the irresponsibility of rushing a job that most of the accidents actually happen.
That's true.
Yeah.
Every time I've seen an accident, it's always because the jobs are rushed or
Rushed,
on a low budget.
Low budget or rushed, yeah.
Low budget or rushed.